Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably know that this is my response video to the larger spread I record every week. So every week, I do a large spread, and for this year, I'm doing a deep dive into the Lenormand system. So my earlier spread is a Lenormand spread, and just in case you have not seen that video, I will put a card up here for you to click on, hop on over, watch that video, and then come back to this one, because this response is to that video, and without knowing the foundation from which this video or this response is coming, you might not get a clear understanding of why I'm reading these cards the way I'm reading them. So watch that video. And in case you have watched that video and you watched it in pieces, you are perfectly allowed to watch any of these videos in bits and pieces. It's all okay, it's all good. Just in case you did watch that video in bits and pieces, or it's been a while and you want a refresher, let me just remind you that the title of that video was The Path Forward from Burden. And the spread I use in that video is what I call, and other people call, a runway spread or an airstrip spread. It's a spread that teaches us how we get from point A to point B. And the point A was burden. And point B at the end of the spread was a choice card. So we have the path which wandered through a way of perhaps self-empowerment, a little bit of good luck, perhaps some good advice. We had the question of have we matured enough to be able to move forward with the I don't want to say burdens, with the responsibilities, the tasks, the activities that we feel that we have to fulfill. Are we mature enough to move forward with those? Are we being asked to grow up a little bit? Yeah, to become more mature, to re-establish our virtue, to be able to move, to have this strong back, the straight spine, to carry what we believe we are destined to, are asked to, or that we want to carry. I think that's what that whole spread was about. And it's not necessarily a quick path or an easy path, but there is a path forward, right? So this spread is responding to that spread, and every week I ask the same question: what is the central message of this last week's Lenormand spread? So what am I going to do now? First, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you for doing all those things you do, for hitting the thumbs up button, for subscribing to the channel, for commenting below. All of those things that you do help other people find our community that is always growing. And you are a blessing to those people. So thank you for doing those things. Just in case you want a private reading from me, I have an online tarot shop, and if you go to the end of this video, there will be a QR code that you can scan to hop right on over to my shop. There will also be a web address. It's really easy, derekjohnthomas.com. Now, go on over to my website, you'll find my shop, you can take a look around. There's a list of stuff at very different prices, and so if you want a reading from me, take a look at what I'm offering and choose something for yourself, or you could order a reading for a friend of yours, right? I can do that. Yeah, as a gift for Yule, for Christmas, for Hanukkah, for Kwanzaa, for the New Year, for a birthday, anything, right? Yeah, so you can order a reading for a friend as well. Just saying. So that's all there at the end of the video. But first, what am I going to do? I'm going to show you a photo of the entire spread. And I'll describe for you what it was you just saw, and then we'll break the spread into its two major component parts and read those parts together. Okay, friends? So here we go. Here is this week's spread. Friends, you just saw two decks. Yes? 3 cards on the top are from a tarot deck. They're from the Brady Tarot. This is my second edition. Now, the reason I've been wanting to use this deck is because the third edition was just on Kickstarter. It funded almost immediately. But it was on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, by the time this video comes out, the Kickstarter campaign will have ended. But the decks are going to be available on Emmy Brady's shop. And her tarots, her Brady Tarot, edition 1, edition 2, and I'm sure edition 3, and maybe there's going to even be a travel version available, maybe, are all wonderful decks, and I highly, highly recommend them. And I've been wanting to use this deck again for my channel for a while, and so I finally got a chance to do it, and so those are the cards from the Brady Tarot. Again, my second edition. I keep my first edition for private use and for very, very special friends. But yes, again, love the Brady Tarot. And those are not in a positional spread. I decided not to go positionally because the Oracle deck I'm using with this spread, those cards are in positional spread. They are in a positional spread. Let's talk about those Oracle cards. Actually, there were 6 cards and you didn't see them all, right? It probably looked like 3 cards to you. These cards are from the, what is it called? It's the Mystic Augur Sage Oracle by Kelly Burton. Kelly Burton is the brilliant creator who did the Sacred Bee trilogy. Right? Now, I don't mean books, I mean decks. There was the first Journey of the Sacred Bee, which I got immediately when it was on Kickstarter. Then there was the second deck, The Keeper of the Sacred Bee, which was another tarot, focused more on the people who care for or interact with bees. And then the third deck was an oracle called The Wisdom of the Sacred Bee. And I've used all 3 of those in one lunar cycle's worth of readings in, I think it was last summer. This summer. Beautiful series of decks. And she came out with this extra Oracle card deck, and I thought this deck would work very well with the Brady Tarot. Yeah, it's the Mystic Augur Sage Oracle. And when I saw Sage, so what was it I thought? I thought, okay, Mystic is a person, Augur is a sign, Sage must be a plant. I was thinking, sage, like white sage, the thing we use to smudge or to cleanse our rooms, right? Sage, or to use for cooking. That's not the sage she was talking about. I misunderstood. I'm sure other people did not misunderstand. I misunderstood. The sage is a person. So these are all kinds of people. There are mystics, there are sages, and there are augurs. And in the deck, there are 3 cards. One for the mystic, one for the augur, one for the sage. And I decided, let's use those as spread markers, as the markers for spread positions. So the first position of this 3-card oracle spread is the mystic, and we'll talk about what that means. The second card is the augur, and we'll talk about that, what that means, and then the third card is the sage. Yeah, so I was really surprised in many ways about how this spread turned out, especially in relationship to the Lenormand spread that I read earlier in the week. Yeah? Okay, so friends, what are we going to do now? First, I will show you the 3 tarot cards from the Brady Tarot, and we will talk about them right now. Here we go. Friends, you just saw from left to right 3 cards. One was the 10 of feathers, then you had the 8 of feathers, and then the Wheel of Fortune. Yes? So, the feathers in the Brady Tarot are the representative of the wands, the fire suit. And you might think, what? Feathers, those are feathers, they're for flying, they're air, right? But for the air suit, we have arrows. Arrows are the air, and the wands are the feathers. So, remember the title for this week's Lenormand spread? The title was, what was the title? It was The Path Forward from Burden. Because the first card in that spread was the cross card, which is a card of burden. And so I asked the question, what is the central message of this week's Lenormand spread? And the first card that came out was the 10 of feathers, which is the 10 of wands, which you see down there at the bottom. What is the title of the card? Burden. So this first card popping out just made me laugh. Right? What do we see on this card? We see a turkey, that is a turkey there, awkwardly carrying 10 golden eagle feathers, unsuccessfully. Yeah? Now the eagle is a symbol of spirituality. Also, the cross card in the Lenormand deck is both burden and a symbol of spirituality. So, I mean, this one card sums up the beginning of that spread, right? So, the 10 of feathers, it might not be as good, we might not be as good at accomplishing the things that we think we are. Let me say that again. We might not be as accomplished at we might not be as good at accomplishing things as we think we are. Right? That makes sense? We might not be as good at accomplishing things as we think we are. We might be overestimating our abilities at this time. Not saying that we can't evolve and get better and be more competent and more capable in the future, but at this point, at this moment in time, we might not be as competent and as capable as we think we are. We could become resentful of circumstances as well. We might be thinking that others are taking advantage of us. We might not know how to say no to people or assess our time and our capabilities. And because of all of these things, we might be feeling the sense of burden. And every project we see might seem easy until we actually start to do it and realize, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? Have you ever experienced that? I know I have. So this could be one of those times. So we start with enthusiasm and energy, but slowly the thing that we're doing becomes a burden. So this one card gives us that background information to the spread we saw earlier this week, right? A burden. And then what's the next card? We got this very, very disturbing 8 of feathers, which is the 8 of wands. What do we see here? We see a gyrfalcon. A gyrfalcon swooping down on its stunned prey, which is a squirrel. You see the squirrels sitting there like this, watching this gyrfalcon It's a kind of falcon, but it kind of looks a little bit like an owl to me, but it's a gyrfalcon swooping down on the squirrel. Disturbing, yes, right? Because we know that gyrfalcon is not coming down to give the squirrel a lift to its house or to a bar or out for a good time, right? That's going down for food. So the card is still speed and sudden accomplishment, sudden success. Which is interesting because the Lenormand spread this week seemed to indicate that we've got a long journey ahead of us. But even though this long journey might be long, there might be a sudden lightening of things. Maybe that's what this is saying. And it could be due to all those feathers lining up in the same direction and in a balanced form, right? The reason why the gyrfalcon can come swooping down is because all of those feathers that this turkey was trying to carry very awkwardly suddenly get all lined up together, and like the fish in the Lenormand card, where we are able to move through water, this bird is now able to move through air very, very with finesse, yeah, with speed and almost no wind resistance. So energies and sometimes people come together with this card. Maybe we get help from other people. There was an indication of advice from an older person in a male body from the earlier spread, so we might get wise, sage is coming up in this next spread, in the next part of the spread. We might get sage advice, maybe. And the swiftness might be surprising for us, might stun us. But, oh my God, how did that happen so quickly? Yeah, things might course correct much more quickly and with alacrity than we anticipated. Yes? Which is interesting if we're the griffin. If we're the gyrfalcon. If we're the squirrel, on the other hand, we're in big trouble. We want to make sure that we're the gyrfalcon in this situation, right? Instead of the turkey flying around with this other bird's feathers trying to do God knows what, we'll get it together, get everything in line, we'll be able to start accomplishing things. And what is the next card? The Wheel of Fortune. This does not look like a Wheel of Fortune, does it? But yet, it is. Now, we see in the center the golden spider. I'm sorry, not the golden, the garden spider. The garden spider and the garden spider's web. And around the garden spider in this web, we see the long-tailed skipper butterflies' stages of life. Right at the very bottom are the eggs, which are in red. I don't know if you can see that they are in red. Then we have, going up to the left, going up to the left, this side, we have the pupa. Then going up here to the top, we have the chrysalis. And then going down here, we have the actual butterfly. Now, it might look like these stages are stuck in this web, but we want to remember that this is the Wheel of Fortune and things do turn. Now, it's interesting that Emmy Brady, when looking at these four stages of life, sees the four elements. She sees fire for the eggs, and that's why they're red. And I can understand that. It's the spark. Okay, so wands and fire, they are sexuality. They're the beginnings of, they could be insemination, right? Yeah. So the wands could be that. So that makes sense to me. Also, the the pupa for Earth makes sense to me too, yeah, because that is the earthbound version of the butterfly. right? It crawls around and it eats the leaves, eating leaves. Leaves are wands, but still it's an earthbound plant, right? The next two, I think, are odd, and I would have switched them. Yeah, she says that the chrysalis is air, so it's blue, and then the butterfly is air, and then the butterfly being blue is water. To me, the chrysalis should be water. Why? Because what happens when the grub, what did we just call it? The pupa, the caterpillar, if you will. The pupa goes in and creates its chrysalis, its little casing. What happens inside of there is what? It digests itself. It becomes basically liquid for a while. And so for me, that would be a perfect stage for the water stage. And then it bursts out of that liquid vat of the imaginal cells come in and restructure the creature out of its having digested itself. And that restructured creature now becomes an air creature. So that would be an air element for me. But I'm not going to fight about that. It's just, to me, it seems it would be better otherwise imagined. That the eggs are fire, yes. The pupa is earth, yes. The chrysalis, to me, should be water, and then the butterfly should be air. It just makes more sense to me. Anyways, so what is this card telling us? It teaches us that life may seem random, but it all fits together. If we don't want to get caught in the web, we may want to see how it is all connected. We might want to pull back and see the entire pattern of cycles as they evolve. Yeah? And this card could indicate a turn for the better, which is kind of what that whole spread seemed to be for me with the Lenormand. Yeah, we started off with a burden and we go through a journey that gives us a choice to move after having moved around an obstacle mountain. So, things might get better. How? First, we want to get ourselves in alignment, which is kind of like that lily card, right? And the clover. So the lily card, we stand up, we grow a spine, we find our maturity, our virtue, and we align in that spread, it's that maturity, that virtue, that alignment, and that would cause this to happen, right? The Eight of Feathers, things are suddenly being able to, in that spread, the fish, in this spread, the Eight of Feathers, we're able to move forward swiftly, more swiftly than we imagined that we could have, more swiftly than the ship, which was the center of that spread, more swiftly than the turkey holding those feathers in this spread. We're able to move forward suddenly, and things can change for the better with the Wheel of Fortune. That makes sense, yes? It does to me. Now, we've got those three oracle cards. So what am I going to do? I'm going to show you first the three placeholders. And then I will show you the cards on top of those placeholders, and then we'll read those three oracle cards together. Okay? So wait, there are two pictures coming your way. Take a close look. Here they are. Okay, so friends, for the placeholders you just saw from left to right was the Mystic, the Augur, and the Sage, right? So this is the Mystic card, and what does it tell us? It tells us that, well, let me read it to you, yeah? The Mystic engages in magic and honors the power of ritual as a means to influence their surroundings. When the Mystic appears, you are encouraged to alter your actions and strengthen your capacity to influence the outcome of a situation. Now, just to let you know, the original intent for these cards, this is what the backs of the cards look like. Now, the original intent for these cards is so that they would be shuffled into the deck, and when they do appear, you pull another card to put on top of it. But I decided to just use them as spread cards, to create a spread with these cards. And so, the first placement of the spread tells us that the mystic uses spells and chants and rituals to alter their experiences and their surroundings. So the card that will go on top of this is, how can I alter my experience and how can I alter my my surroundings, right? The next card is the augur. This is the augur card. And it says here that the augur gathers insight by looking for signs in nature and the cosmos. They are in tune with the life force of everything and use intuition to understand auspicious messages. When the augur appears, the skill you should develop is intuition and observations as clues to better understand the challenges in your life. Yes? So the augur looks at signs, clues, or natural or supernatural events and understands a situation or makes predictions. So these are the things that we want to pay attention to. The thing that goes on top of it is what we want to pay attention to get clues about what to do. So the first thing is what we want to do. The second one is what messages we want to pay attention so that we can figure out how to do that thing. And then the third card is the sage. This is what it looks like, and it says here, the sage possesses the stories and secrets of the ages. They study ancient texts and preserve oral histories that have been passed down through generations. You are invited to explore books and legends, using them as metaphors for your dilemma. So the sage consults books or stored information, stored from tradition, from experience, from rituals, to interpret circumstances or situations. It's self-education. What do we want to learn? So this third card is, what do we want to learn? What information do we want to get? So let's start off with what we want to do, the mystic, right? This is the mystic card. This is in the mystic spot, and it's the storyteller card. What is this card telling us? It's a beautiful card, this storyteller standing there. Stories, music, and legends shared by an elder help keep traditions alive. Creation stories, myths, and legends about the creation of the clan or tribe are here. So, it might be a straightforward story, or it could be a parable, right? They hold wisdom and magic. They create connections. Performing rituals helps embody the tradition of our society, right? Family stories, ancestral legends, interpreting possibilities, interpreting parables, tradition and history. This is what we want to do. We want to connect with our traditions, our history. We want to interpret our life stories. Get an understanding of who we are, where we are, who are our people, and what people are we a member of. This is what's going to help us through this feeling of burden. And there were a couple of indications that we might get a little assistance from a sage and a storyteller. The King of Spades card was the lily. Yeah, right? There's an elder, someone with wisdom who might be able to assist us and give us information. So if we have the opportunity to listen to a family or a clan or a tribe member elder, we might get some help there. So, but what do we want to do? We want to listen to those and investigate those stories and those parables and those myths and those legends to discover who we are and how we can be in the world. Right? The augur, what signs do we want to look for was what? The muse. Right? Now, that seemed to be like, okay, the signs we want to be the storytellers, and maybe we're the ones who want to tell the stories. To do that, we want to look at the signs and get the signs from our muses. What could be more perfect than that? Now, unfortunately, the description of this card is a little bit more too specific. Yeah? This is Polyhymnia, one of the 9 muses. It's the muse of sacred hymns, divine poetry, and inspirational performances. So we want to look for those signs in the things we hear around us, the music, the see in the dance, the feel through the poetry. Those will all be signs and symbols for us to inform our activity as storyteller. Our activity as storyteller. There we go. I don't want to just wave the card around for you. So what is the muse telling us? Telling us to elevate our passions and our creativity by adding an element from nature to symbolize it. So we also want to look to nature to try to supplement our passions and our creativity by incorporating natural substances within our expression of those things. It can be an object or a living being, like a furry friend or a feathered friend or a scaled friend. It should have the characteristics we want to instill in the work. So we don't want to add something contrasting from nature. It should have the characteristics of the thing we're trying to express, right? Now, journaling about the work can help. Making the work into an artwork will help. To bring in nature into the projects we're working on, to inspire us when working on those projects will help. Sacred music, language, and art will help. But I think the most important thing here is to bring in resonant aspects of the natural world into what it is we're doing, and look for signs and symbols in the natural world as well, as we do the work of being the storyteller and learning from the storytellers. Right? And so what is the sage? Again, what do we want to go out and learn? What do we want to study? And here we have life force. We want to study life. Eggs cracked from inside live, but cracked from the outside die. So things have a natural process, right? The egg, when it's ready, will open. We don't want to force things to happen. We want to follow the natural cycles. Sages will search for the meaning of life. That's what we want to do. We want to go out and search, look for the meaning of our lives and life in general. Inner spirit and life are fragile. They can be damaged. We want to nurture, to foster that inner spirit of our own. Establish a profound connection to the divine by acknowledging and nurturing our beautiful life force. So that's what we want to learn about, how to nurture ourselves, how to nurture our life forces individually. And search for the meaning of our lives as we do that. And finding meaning for our lives will also be part of that nurturing of our inner spirit, right? We want to establish a profound connection with the divine, acknowledging and nurturing our beautiful life force. So we want to acknowledge that there are aspects of our lives that are fragile. We want to acknowledge today our bodies and our minds, and healing the force within by learning about it, by learning why we are here, and reinforcing ourselves, acknowledging the magic that we have within, with that life force. The life force that we have within us is magic. And we want to actively search for information that will support that understanding and support our knowledge and strengthen the life force within us. And help us find a meaning for our lives. Does that make sense? That's how we navigate this, from this burden into the change, right? By doing this, by paying attention to the storytellers and being the storytellers, finding the wisdom that exists within our own traditions. And all those things we said about that. We look into nature. We find ways to include nature in the storytelling that we are doing and the story listening that we are doing. And we make our lives, we find the signs and symbols that help make our lives into a work of art. By going out and actively learning that, by learning the meaning of our lives and learning the magic that is within us, by learning that we are connected to the divine, we have that connection, we have that power, and we can strengthen our inner life force, which will help us to be able to move through life not feeling like we're carrying a burden, but that we are carrying our lives forward. And the parable of the backpack, right? I talked about that, I think, in the last video, where if we have not exercised for a long time and our bodies have become weak, we pick up either a 10 kilogram or a 10 pound bag, and it is going to be a heavy burden. But we go to the gym, we work out, we strengthen ourselves, our bodies, for example. That's the metaphor. We strengthen our bodies, and that backpack, same weight, 10 pounds or 10 kilograms, is no longer a burden. We can now walk forward. We might even be able to run with it. It's not a burden anymore because we have strengthened ourselves. We have evolved. We have grown. We have become bigger. And I don't mean that you have to go to the gym if that's not your path, but it's a metaphor for what we can do here, and that metaphor was strengthened here in this life force card. Right? You see that? I hope you do. I hope you do. This really makes sense. And I think it really does give another layer of ways to understand the Lenormand spread we read earlier in the week. So I hope you agree with that. If you do let me know in the comments below. If you don't agree with it, let me know in the comments below. If you have either of these decks, if you want to get the Brady deck, I'll have a link to Emmy Brady's shop. If you want to get the the Mystic, Augurs, and Sage deck, or any of the Sacred Bee decks, I will have a link in the description box to Kelly Burton's website. Order from the artists directly. Wonderful thing. In just a moment, my QR code and the web address for my shop will be up, and you can go search out a spread for yourself or somebody else, a reading. But before that, I would like to thank you for being here, for joining me on this journey. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.